Amateur radio in the field is not inherently dangerous. However, if you don't pay attention to your surroundings, you could have some very dire consequences and very dire results. Let's take a look at an issue that I avoided while camping in a state park. Next on AA3K On The Go. I'm camping for a couple of days in Do They, State Park, Virginia. Parks on the Air, US 1296. And we got to the campsite about 6 p.m. Sunset was about 6:30, then leaving about 45 minutes to an hour of twilight. And after I got the camper set up and everything, my next priority was to get something up that I can do Parks on the Air for the evening and activate a new park for me. So I had decided to use my end-fed half-wave antenna, which means I either need to get a line over a tree branch or use my telescopic mast leaned into a tree. And by the way, this is becoming my preferred method of putting up the far end of my end-fed half-wave antennas. And as I looked around the site, I ran into a uh-oh situation. I normally like to set up the antennas to the rear of my camper, so it's away from the park camping loop road, it's away from people walking around, and it's just less visible to everybody. But unfortunately, when I looked behind my campsite, I spied this. And we can see some heavy telecommunication lines and a splice box, but in particular above that are some high voltage wires for primary distribution to the transformers around the campground. Also behind the campsite is a ravine that goes down a couple of feet and quite a few bushes, as you notice, making it a little bit difficult to get back there. Unfortunately, back in July, N4NTO in North Carolina was setting up at a National Civil War battlefield and didn't notice the power line running above the parking lot where he was setting up to do a Parks on the Air operation. And the mast that he was using did contact that power line with, unfortunately, very sad results. So when you get to your campsite, do look around, check if there's power lines above or anywhere near. And if you can't see, you may want to go with, say, a ground-mounted antenna, definitely away from any potential location that power lines might be. If you don't see any power poles around the campground access road, you're probably in good shape. However, don't take my word on that. Look carefully. So while I was here, I decided to use my end-fed half-wave antenna, and being that I couldn't use the trees in back of the campsite, I decided to use a tree in the front of the campsite. And this taller tree over here, just to the left of my campsite when I'm facing it, I could have thrown my arborist heaving ball with the line attached to it over the tree, but I just decided to use my telescopic mast and put it out and hang the far end or the wire end of the end-fed half-wave and lean it into the tree. And let me demonstrate that basically how I did that. And what I did is I extended all the sections of my jack kite 10 meter, 33 or so foot telescopic mast. And these masts are very good because they're meant to hold up wind socks, so they have a very thick tip section. And after I extended it all, I just laid it on the ground. Attached my antenna to the tip of it, and then just picked up the whole mast, made sure the wire ended up around these branches over here. And manhandled the mast and just leaned it into the tree. And I usually like to get the mast to go behind another branch in case it gets pulled on, so it won't fall down in the direction of the pole. When I was done, I just pulled the mast out of the tree and collapsed it. And one thing with these particular masts, you do not want to let them go rocketing down to the base. You can crack the bottom of the section. Now I have put a piece of foam in the bottom of this mast, but I still want to be careful and make sure I hand lower each and every section of the mast. And the end result is this 33 or so foot mast collapses down to about 4 feet. And you're good to go. Now, as you're doing amateur radio in the field, whether it's Parks on the Air, Summits on the Air, make sure you don't end up overextending your abilities. If you have to hike in 20 miles to a location you want to operate and you can barely make it around the block, you might want to work on building up your stamina. I recently hiked a small section of the Appalachian Trail in Pennsylvania, and now I know why they call Pennsylvania Rocksylvania. It was a pretty challenging section of the trail, and I only did about a 5-mile out and back hike with a couple of friends. Though I did activate the Appalachian Trail for Parks on the Air. Look up above your campsite, make sure there are no wires. Again, if you can't see, you might want to hold off and operate when, say, fog or bad weather and such clears up. We don't want to hear any more amateur radio operators become statistics. If you have any additional thoughts and tips for safety in the outdoors while operating amateur radio, why don't you put them in the comments below so we can all benefit from that information and continue the discussion there. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you find this and my other information interesting. Remember, I'm working to help make the outdoors your ham shack. 73, and I'll catch you the next time on AA3K on the go. This is Mark, AA3K. If you, all these bugs! Get a fan, get a high-speed fan.